whether you saw the 5 bunkers as well.
Yes.
Did you put anyone down there and lock the lid? Oh. Okay, the evening chanting. It's coming. Patience. Exciting, isn't it? Yoso Bhagava Arahang Sama Sambuddho Sawakato Yena Bhagavata Dhammo Supatipano Yasa Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Tamayang Bhagavantang Sadhamang Sasangang Imehi Sakare Hiyatarahang Aropite Hiyabhipujayama Sadhuno Bante Bhagava Suchira Parinibbatopi Pachima Janata Nukampamanasa Ime Sakare Dugata Panakalapute Patikan Hatu Amhakang Dikharatang Hitaya Sukhaya Alahang Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Suwakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Sama Sambuddho Vicharana Sampano Lokavidu Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarati Sata Deva Manu Sanang Buddha Bhagava Tamahang Bhagavantang Abhipujayami Tamahang Bhagavantang Sirasa Namami Suwakato Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditiko Akaliko Ehipasiko Opanayiko Pachatang Veditapo Vinyuhi Tamahang Dhammang abhipujayami Dhammahang dhammang sirasa namami Supatipano Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Ujjupatipano Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Yaya Patipano Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Samichi Patipano Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Yadidang Shatari Purisa Yugani Ata Purisa Pugala Esa Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Ahuneyo Pahuneyo Dakineyo Anjali Karaniyo Anutarang Punya Ketang Lokasa Dhammahang Sanghang Abhipujayami Dhammahang Sanghang Sirasa namami This is what should be done by one in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, not busy with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm, and wise as skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be happy, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born. May all beings be happy. Let none deceive another, or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child. So with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hate and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to false use, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being free from all sex desires, is not born again into this world. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Excellent. You all know what the word sadhu meant. I explained that to you before. Awesome. It's true, it's the best English translation. Very good. Like, oh my goodness me. Forget about sleep tonight. Okay, let's get into it. Here we go, question number 1. What is happening when we chant? Why do we? Is it important? Yeah, the chanting is really, really important, so it scares off all the ghosts. Have you heard how terrible the chanting is? It's all out of key, out of tune. That means that any sort of ghost gets scared to come in here. Now, one of the reasons we do the chanting is that some of you, not all of you, maybe only a few of you, keep noble silence. It keeps the vocal cords keep going. It gives a little bit of more of interest, especially the loving kindness sutta. There's some brilliant words in there. And if you listen to them, sometimes they inspire you. Whatever living beings they may be, omitting none. Everybody. So it's not just to the people you like, it's to everybody. And everybody's been in your life. They may have harmed you, hurt you, whatever. We love everybody. Whatever living beings they may be, omitting none. And that's really powerful. All got their place in here sometimes. Sometimes they hurt you and harm you, but when they hurt and harm you, that's where you learn, where you grow. So thank you. That's why I mentioned already, when those mosquitoes, I didn't mind tarantulas, I didn't mind snakes and cobras and everything else in those forests, but the one thing which I didn't like were the mosquitoes. And so when I did my first chanting as a young monk, whatever living beings they may be, omitting mosquitoes. It's very hard to actually have loving kindness towards them. And later on, after that experience in that hospital, which I said with that nurse, people think that Thai nurses are very petite and attractive. Not these nurses. They were more like what you'd expect to be Olympic weightlifters for the Thai team. Honestly, they were just really tough and just bangs. So after having a sore bottom after about 4 weeks of twice-a-day injections, that whatever living beings there may be, but not that nurse. I mean, it's natural, isn't it? There's some people who hurt and harm you, and it's so hard to get loving kindness towards them. But then after a while, you extend it to all beings, no matter who they are. Even the ones who really hurt you, the ones you couldn't trust, the ones who let you down. All beings. That's wonderful. There's simple things like there was a family, a very conservative family in Singapore, but they trusted me. And this was quite a few years ago now. And where their son came out as gay, they came out and said, "What should we do? Our son is gay." And my answer was straight, of course, there's nothing wrong at all with being anything. So when I said, look, what do we chant? Whatever living beings they may be, omitting none. I mean, everybody. Isn't your son a living being? Yeah. Well, love him. And so just simple teachings like that, it makes it very clear just know how we react to everything. So, and they say, what's wrong with you? It's just because they're conditioning, that's all. But anyway. Okay, dear Sangha, can we help animals increase their chance to be born into the human realm? Yeah. I wonder, if it's your pets, for example, I mean, some of your pets, sometimes they think they're human. You give it pet food, they're not interested. They want what you eat. I've seen that before. Sometimes the pets, they eat better than I do. And especially cats are very fussy. But even dogs, and sometimes they want to sit in the car. I remember this lovely cartoon. I love cartoons. I mean, not the movie cartoons, but just the just one picture cartoons you see in the newspapers and stuff. One of my favourite cartoons was of this dog. You know how dogs beg, for food, and especially at the dinner table. This dog, he had a gun. He pointed it at his owner like a loaded pistol. So I'm done with begging. If I was a dog, that's probably what I'd do. Come on, cough up. But you can see just, you may have had dogs or cats, and some of them are just so close to human nature. And they identify with being a human, and so when they die, they'll probably get reborn as a human. So treat them with respect. If you treat them with respect, then sometimes they associate with human beings, and they might be reborn as a human being. The difference between a Buddha and an Arahat is quantitative rather than qualitative, i.e. more compassionate, etc. And that is how the Bodhisattva ideal arose in Mahayana. Exit as soon as possible as Arahat or keep going for Buddhahood. That's not the difference between being a Buddha and being a fully enlightened Arahat. It's almost like there comes a time when Buddhism just decays, and there's no enlightened beings anymore, and just some of the you can see always happening now that sometimes the quality just lowers. In other words, people meditate and they call it jhanas. It ain't jhanas. They know that jhanas are important. They get a little bit of bliss and happiness. Well, that's jhana. And so and of course, if I lower my standards about what's jhana, and of course you get very popular. Ajahn Brahm said, what's jhana? Oh, must be good. Well, I'm too honest for that. And it's the same with being enlightened. People have all these strange ideas of what enlightenment is. And I think there was one fellow, you may know him, he's passed away a long time ago. He said he was so detached. And he was much more detached than other people. He was so detached, he wasn't even attached to detachment. Which meant he did whatever he wanted and just had great excuses. So anyway, sometimes all those excuses which people have about what's enlightenment, what isn't enlightenment. But what is really happening there, that after the Dhamma sort of starts to disappear and people aren't practicing correctly, and there's no more arahats in the world, and of course, there'll be sometimes a person who was like a stream winner or a once returner. A once returner gets reborn in this realm. If they're a once returner, if this is their last life, there's no more lives, then they become an arahat in this world, when there's no other Buddhism around. And those arahats, some of them, most of them, become Pajeka Buddhas, silent Buddhas. They're just very peaceful, very quiet, and they just disappear. But there's some of them who decide to teach. And with Siddhartha Gautama, that he said in one of the sutras, which is, I really love this sutta because it does stir a lot of people up. He said this was in the Gatikara Sutta. He was with Venerable Ananda, and he said, this place years ago, in his previous life, there was a story of this potter called Gatikara. Actually, Gatikara means potter. And Gatikara had two parents who were both blind. He didn't have a wife or any children, just two parents. And he was one of the chief disciples of a previous Buddha called Kassapa, the Buddha. Because there's always some Buddhas around the world. It's not the first Buddha. They've had ones before, because once this Buddha passes away and Buddhism just disappears, then again it will come back again. And anyway, so in a previous life, he was, this Gatikara was a chief disciple of Kassapa the Buddha, and he had a best friend called Jyotipala, wasn't it? Yeah, Jyotipala, but Jyotipala. So Jyotipala was his best friend. But Jyotipala was not interested in religion and all these bald-headed, stupid monks who just keep talking about nonsense all the time. And so he'd actually, when Gatikara tried to get his best friend Jyotipala to come and visit Kassapa the Buddha, Jyotipala said, no, what's the point? And even said bad words about Kassapa the Buddha. Said he was just a shaven-headed good-for-nothing. And anyway, one day, Gatikara invited his friend for a bath, and in India they always like bathing in rivers. It's almost like an addiction. But anyway, so they bathed in the river, and after bathing in a river, Gatikara got hold of his friend's hair and started dragging his hair, pulling it. We're going to see the Buddha Kassapa. And that was a very, not aggressive, but very demeaning thing to do in India, to touch somebody else's hair, even your best friend, and start pulling it. He said, what are you doing? He said, look, I really want you to see Buddha Kassapa. And Jyotipala said, you've been on about this Buddha Kassapa for so long. Okay. Just because you're my best friend, I'll come and visit Buddha Kassapa. And of course, as soon as this Jyotipala saw Kassapa the Buddha, he was just totally transfixed, got a lot of faith in Kassapa the Buddha, and became a monk himself. So Jyotipala became a monk under Kassapa the Buddha. And then the story goes on with what happened to Gatikara later on. But at the end of the story which Buddha told, he said, I was Jyotipala. That was me. In a previous life. And I reckon it's a very close previous life. If you were a student with a Buddha, and obviously had all that incredible potential, our Buddha in this lifetime, that meant he must have got something, some jhana, some attainments under Kassapa the Buddha. And so Jyotipala got reborn in the Tusita realm. That's where he came down to this earth. Everyone agrees on that. He descended from the Tusita realm. There's another sutta somewhere that says, not once returners, second stage of enlightenment, only got one life left on earth. For the most part, get reborn in the Tusita realm. And when, according to the old stories, traditions if you like, when the Buddha came out of his mother's womb, he took 7 steps, put up his finger and said, this is my last life, I'm the best in the world. How would he know that? Unless he was a once returner. Anyway, there's also other confirming suttas. That is the Gatikara also, this is in the Devaputta Samyutta, came to visit the Buddha after the Buddha's enlightenment. Because Gatikara was a non-returner, an anagami. And Gatikara anagamis live a long time in the Sudawasa. And that's not the pure abodes of Mahayana. This is Sudawasa. It's the place where only anagamis go. They hang out there until they pass away and they don't ever get reborn anywhere. They become enlightened there. So anyway, in this Devaputta Samyutta, Gatikara comes down just after the Buddha's enlightenment, still in Bodh Gaya, to congratulate the Buddha. There's a lovely little sutta. It said, we were friends before, we were born in the same village. And I became a non-returner. The only reason I couldn't ordain was because my parents were blind. And you became a monk with Kassapa, my teacher. And you're now the Buddha. Congratulations, old friend. They were mates before. And of course, if you're mates and you go and congratulate. And one of the other people who came to congratulate the Buddha, who was also a monk under Kassapa, was this fellow called Sahampati. That ring a bell? Because in the sutras they sometimes call Brahma Sahampati. And Brahma is not just mean the main sort of great gods. Brahma Sahampati was what they sometimes used to call people who were in the Sudawasa, Anagamis. So Sahampati came up to the new Buddha and said, yeah, congratulations. And Sahampati said the wonderful thing to the Buddha. There are beings with little dust in their eyes. Please teach out of compassion for them. And sometimes people don't know the importance of that little saying. The Buddha was so still, so peaceful, just been enlightened. All the will, the jobs, doing stuff, that had all just disappeared from him. Be that close to being what they call the Pajeka Buddhas, the silent Buddhas, who just meditate and just peaceful and you don't hear from them. But he was asked by somebody else, by his old friend Sahampati, please teach. And that was why the Buddha taught. That's the difference between Pajeka Buddha and the teaching Buddha. Someone asks. You may think that's a silly thing, but after even deep meditation, sometimes you don't want to do anything. You're so still, the will has just totally vanished. And so you want somebody else just to get you going again, to like this little match, and then all your teaching starts from there. So years ago, I've got a sense of humour. They called it Brahma Sahampati, and sometimes Brahma means God. And Brahma Sahampati, was responsible for Buddhism. The Buddha would not have taught otherwise, everyone believes that. And so I always say, thank God for Buddhism. Thank God Sahampati, Brahma Sahampati. It's stretching it a little bit, but it's a good joke. So actually the difference between a Buddha and an Arahat is the first one in this dispensation who becomes an Arahat, and who teaches becomes a Buddha. This is the name, it's like Arahat number 1. And those are actually based on sutras. And why would anybody want to become a bodhisattva? The only time that we call the being a bodhisattva in the Pali Canon was from the time that Siddhartha Gautama descended into the mother's womb until the full enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. That's the only time they call him bodhisattva. They don't use that term for Jyotipala, who was a monk under Kassapa. They don't use that term at all. Bodhisattvas would not criticize and put down a Buddha. Jyotipala had a Buddha in his vicinity and never recognized it, and actually criticized the previous Buddha Kassapa. Is that how bodhisattvas are supposed to act? So it's a totally different idea. Okay, dear Ajahn Brahm, what precepts a stream enterer never breaks? E.g., does he, she can break one or few of the 5 precepts at times, and precepts that he will never break? Are you looking for loopholes? I'll be a stream winner as long as I, can still break this one and break that one and break that one. So can a stream winner, not even a stream enterer, a stream winner, can they break any of the 5 precepts? Answer is, yes, they can. They were the extreme winner. But afterwards they have to confess it. They can't hide it. The sense of self is not there, so they can't conceal anything. Why do they break those precepts? It is because, they've seen the Dhamma, they understand what they should be doing, but sometimes their past habits are just too strong. And they, just like in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, that Ananda, I'd said he wasn't fully enlightened, but he was a stream winner. And then when the Buddha was dying, he was so attached and close to the Buddha that when the Buddha was passing away, he just, he started crying and weeping. And he said all the Dhamma had just gone out the window. He just didn't know where he was or what he was doing. Because, he really was attached to the Buddha. It was like a personal friend or something. It was like a father or your mother. When your mother dies, sometimes you're so attached, you just can't help it. So this is where Ananda just broke down crying. So everyone will die. But he lost it because he was a stream winner, but not an arahat yet. So sometimes we can break our precepts, but nowhere near as much as when you not a stream winner. So you're a good person, and it's, I made a mistake, I shouldn't have done that. So you can't hide anything. Dear Ajahn, can you kindly advise how to let go of expectation of children's achievements and behaviours, please? One of the best ways not to have any children. And I mentioned this to a few people, and they don't have children, they have what's called fur babies. You know what fur babies means? It's like little dogs or kittens. And I remember this one guy, he just sent me this email, thank you so much. Actually, I was with my partner, we're thinking of having a kid, but you advised us to have a fur baby and a nice little dog. And no, just consider it logically. If you have a nice fur baby, does a fur baby ever throw a tantrum? Do you have to spend all this money sending your fur baby to a top school? And are they going to cause you a lot of grief and problems in your life? You've got to get insurance for them, take them out on the weekend to play sport. You don't do that with a dog. So a dog is much easier maintenance. You have more opportunity if you have a dog rather than a kid to come on retreats like this. And you're not so worried. And dog does other things which kids can't. Some dogs are really good guardians of your house. A burglar comes in, woof, 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 woof. Did your kid ever do that? No, they're hopeless. So, get a fur baby. But expectations of kids. How many of your kids, I said this at a school once, the whole school assembly, how many of you are above average intelligence? Or let's put it another way, how many of your children are above average intelligence? Only half. That's what average means. If you had just a school full of Einsteins, only half of them will be above average intelligence. So what are you doing? Expectations of kids. Half of your kids will be below average intelligence. Be honest. Oh, not my kids, though. Other kids. And those poor kids that push so much to try and please your ego. Oh, my kid's really good. He's in the top class. He's going to a good university. And that pleases the parents' ego, not the kids. So I tell the kids, if your parents are Buddhist, if you have Buddhist parents, And if you come in the top 5% at school, or the bottom 5%, your parents should be ashamed of themselves. Buddhism, we believe in the middle way. So if your kid comes in the middle somewhere, that's good Buddhist parenting. Middle way, come on. Dear Ajahn, monks now, what is the history of gender equality in Buddhism, both in the time of the Buddha and recently in the Theravada or Thai forest traditions? What did you have to rebel against in order for nuns to be ordained? Asking for a friend, literally. It was weird because, like as a Westerner, you saw, gender inequality, you saw racial inequality in London, you saw all sorts of, and I don't talk about even, sexual orientation equality, LGBTQIAL or plus. But there was hardly any equality there at all. And you saw that. The school I went to was a very poor school, so many immigrants, but they're my mates. And if they were, don't care what colour you were, but if you played good soccer, you were in my team. That's how you felt as a little kid. And so, as you grew older, it became really weird why there was such segregation. So, like in Cambridge, there's about, 30 colleges for men, only 3 colleges for women. Does that mean just women aren't as intelligent? Of course not. There wasn't the opportunities. It's much better now, when you have co-ed colleges. So in other words, you can just... Actually, they were all co-ed in those days, but the women in my college weren't supposed to be there at night. We were young men. We were also rebellious. I remember just our local student council, this was at Emmanuel College, where I was, that's my college there. The student council, we had a meeting, and so it was really awful because, the girlfriends had to be hidden in the morning. And so we asked, the governing committee of all these old dons, said, can we have permission for women to come in the hall for breakfast? They weren't usually allowed. Because, our girlfriends were going hungry in the morning. It was really a cheeky request, because they weren't supposed to be there at all. And I had to hand it to this, the old dons and the Cambridge tradition. They said, we considered your request and we declined it for the reason that gentlemen do not look their best at that time of the morning. There's some truth to that. But the way it was put, we just laughed our heads off and said, okay, you got us there. Gentlemen don't look their best at that time of the morning. But anyway, specifically with nuns. I was always taught, when I was young, it's impossible, you can't do it. Because you need other bhikkhunis to ordain a new bhikkhuni. So, well, can't do it. And of course, then, when you sort of came over to Australia, it was just much more in your face. In Thailand, it wasn't so prominent there. And when it was right in your face, and I, of course, as you all know, I wasn't just a meditator. I was a scholar. I had a brain, so I learned Pali myself. Studied Latin, in school in London. But then, Pali is so close to Latin. So it's very easy. If you know Latin, you can very easily learn Pali. So I learned Pali, and then I could actually read these books, the suttas, in the original language, Pali. And it's beautiful. Sometimes you could see things which the translators didn't see. Little thing, for those of you who've done Vipassana meditation before, Satipatthana, for example, there's a phrase in there with every of the 4 Satipatthanas, before you even start doing the mindfulness of the body or the feelings or mind or dhammas. It's Vinaya loke abhija domanasang, this phrase. Vinaya, it all means like to suppress, put down, train. But loke abhija domanasang. And those of you who know Satipatthana Sutta will read the usual translation, having suppressed grief and covetousness for the world. And even as a student, that didn't make any sense. It didn't have any meaning. Grief and covetousness for the world, is that what you're supposed to do? But the words in Pali were loke abhija and domanasang. So there you were reading, especially the Anguttara Nikaya in Pali, reading, loke abhija, loke abhija. Loke abhija, that first word, covetousness for the world. It's the first of the 5 hindrances. It was what we call like a synonym, an alternative way of saying the same word. Woman, female, or whatever. It's the same word, different usage. I say, that means the first hindrance of wanting, loke abhija. And domanasang, of course, then you started really keeping your eyes open. And there it was, 2 suttas. Domanasang was an alternative for the second hindrance of Vyapada. It will. So there you had it. Vinaya loke abhija domanasang means having suppressed the first 2 of the 5 hindrances. And you investigate further. In the Pali language, the idioms there are, if there's a normal set, like the Eightfold Path, you just say the first 2, almost like an abbreviation, and the others of that common group are included. So I looked even at the commentaries, the 2 Satipatthana Suttas, Mahasatipatthana Sutta and the other Satipatthana Sutta, and the commentaries there, they give the explanation of what the terms mean. And they always say, Vinaya loke abhija domanasang means having suppressed the 5 hindrances. That's what you're supposed to do. That is the meaning of that term. So you only do the Satipatthana once those hindrances are very, very weak. When you've got lots of hindrances, you haven't got any mindfulness. It's not sharp enough. It's not powerful enough. You can't just look at a clump of bamboo for 8 days, like I did, without just only having to leave it because of breakfast. That's actually what happens. And once you start to open up like that, wow. So anyway, I learned my Pali, and then of course you looked at the Vinaya, and looked at all these rules. You became like a legal scholar. I had to do that because no one else was doing it for the monks. There's only monks at the time. And they say, hey, ordination of bhikkhunis. What's the problem? I was always told it was not possible. But then you saw, hey, as long as there was a lineage to the first bhikkhunis, in other words, a connection, it's easy to do. And of course that lineage was there, because it was the Theravada bhikkhunis who went to, was it Taiwan, I think, and then to China. There's records of that. In other words, what we see as Mahayana bhikkhunis, Theravada bhikkhunis, they're bhikkhunis first. Mahayana and Theravada is added afterwards. Same as bhikkhus, monks. They have like Korean bhikkhus. And you've seen them living with us, in Bodhinyana Monastery, joining in the Patimokkha, everything. They keep the same Vinaya that we do. There's no difference there. So you saw there was like a lineage all the way back through the Bhikkhuni tradition, through the Mahayana tradition. There was no obstacle legally. So when smart addicts like me start to think like that and start to publish articles like that and tell other smart addicts like Ajahn Sujato and Ajahn Brahmali, we get in a lot of trouble. We don't mind because we can have all the arguments. And that's the point. When we did Bhikkhuni ordination, we had everything in place. You can't sort of stop it. It's real. And so the next thing, of course, we had candidates. It's not as if we were just looking for candidates. They had these 4 amazing nuns. Not these four, these are amazing enough, but these were Ajahn and then Ajahn, no, well, it was Wayama at the time, and Hasapanya, and Seri, and Nirodha, those four. And they were just keeping the 10 precepts. They weren't fully ordained. Thought they could never be fully ordained. You looked and say, hey, it's possible. And then they asked me, can we have full ordination, please? And of course, there's no reason why not. You had to give it. So, we did it. And it wasn't we did it in secret. I went to tell everybody we're going to do it. And that really got up a lot of people's noses. It can be done. And it was done. It's a beautiful thing to be done. And in the end, all the rigmarole of doing stuff, in the end, I was summoned to Wat Pah Pong. And 3-hour meeting. Just come all the way from Perth, and you're pretty tired. A 3-hour meeting, and it all came down to the last. This is what I think I'm justifiably proud of this. Come down to the last, 5 minutes before they ended the meeting. And they said, look, it all boils down to this, Ajahn Brahm. Those 4 nuns, if you admit they're not bhikkhunis, they're just 10 preceptors, if you admit that in front of us all, then it'll be all forgiven. If you maintain they're bhikkhunis, then don't come back again. You're expelled. There's something inside of me, I always wanted to be expelled from something. But that wasn't a real reason. It was just, I paused for a couple of minutes, because this was it, and said, can you, Ajahn Brahm, go back to Perth and tell those 4 women their ordination's not valid? Well, of course you can't do that. Don't care what you do to me, but I've got my standards. You can't. Just tell them that. I'd be lying. Their ordination was valid. It was legal. You can't do anything about that. Maybe I shouldn't have done it, but I did do it. It's legal. And so I said, I can't do that. There's always in your life that sometimes you're faced with these choices. Just do what you know is in your heart and what you have to do. And then, you have to face consequences. Or just take the easy option and say, nah, they're not really bhikkhunis. And you can keep all your friends there. Sometimes people have those choices. Be strong and make the right one. You may hurt, but you'd always be happy about it afterwards, for the rest of your life. And it reminded me of a story during the Vietnam War. There was something called the My Lai Massacre. If any of you my age remember that, it was in the newspapers because it was the first time journalists actually followed the army and they saw the atrocities which happened in war. And this group of soldiers, I still remember the name of the captain, Lieutenant Calley, and they were ordered to go into a village of My Lai in Vietnam and kill every man, woman and child. They're supposed to be Viet Cong, but women and child as well. And off they went in there, just shooting like anything. And of course, because of the journalists saw that, it was horrendous. And the story got out. There was a big scandal. And Lieutenant Calley got put in jail. And then given a pardon by the president later on. But this particular documentary, they did a follow-up, I think 25 years, of trying to find as many of those soldiers as possible, what happened to them. And some of the villagers as well, the one that survived. The villagers who survived, apparently, they were just such nice people. Oh, we forgave a long time ago. And of all those soldiers, there's only one who had a wonderful life, a nice family, and was really happy and balanced. And that was this black African who refused to go in. And that was what was really fascinating for me. Why did this black American, African person, soldier, refuse? Because he knew what would happen, which did happen, 3 years in a military jail, which is not nice. He said, I knew that was going to happen to me, but I could not go in and shoot these innocent people. And he said, were you a Christian or something? He said, no, I didn't have a religion. I just joined the army because I came from a ghetto somewhere. It's the only way I can get a job and get a life. And he was this amazing person in the documentary who had self-respect, had a wonderful wife, family, and everything. And it just, to me, it proved what karma is like. Sometimes you don't know really why you have to do something wonderful and good. You just know you can't do the opposite. Doing the opposite is just wrong. Very simple, but powerful. That's sometimes what it's like. And I didn't go to military jail, but this is, you don't really rebel. You just do what you need to do. Have enough inner strength to stand up for what you believe. Just take any consequences. So anyway, and look what we got. Yay! The results over there, and many more. And it's unstoppable now. I checked with all the senior monks, they said, look, you've done nothing wrong. It's valid. This is a much nicer question. Ajahn, Brahmavamso. That's what it says. Brahmavamso. How much is the estimated cost for one of these cooties we saw today? Oh. I'd like to make a donation for future cooties. However, I'm afraid there might not be enough space in the donation box for the 2 spiders after the donation is made. With great metta. Now, those cooties you saw today, I don't know if it was explained to you, but it took 7 years to get the development approval. And the reason is because of fire zones. And those fire rules, they kept on changing. So we almost got it approved, and then they said, wait for a moment, and then they changed the rules again, so we had to redo it, and then redo it, and 7 years it took us before we got the final approval. And that's why, you see, the way it's built, we've got concrete ceilings, 2 concrete ceilings in there, really thick walls with insulation inside, and those windows, did you see those windows in there? Each one of those windows cost $6,000 because they're totally fireproof, apparently, and they're made in Germany. And even the doors are also fireproof. And even so, there's no way in the world that kuti can actually be destroyed. And so that's why it costs so much. And that's why I don't know why we had to do this, but once we could say, look, everything is fire zone rated. So, if you stay inside there, you'll be fine. You can't be burnt. It may be hot in there, but you won't be incinerated. And even the hut itself, we don't need to insure it because it's not destroyable. So that's why it took a long time. But you see, the only real way you can do that is the monks build it. So it's another example of the BBC, Jhana Building Company. We also have the DBC. What's that? What's the DBC, Venerable Kunika? Dhammasava Building Company. That's it. But how much it costs, I think we sort of worked out where it's a bit of a conservative cost, about $50,000. But you haven't only seen part of that. Because it's 6,000 for one reason, 6,000 for another window, 6,000 for the door. That's 18,000 already. And the concrete as well, the brickwork, and we haven't thought about the roof yet. So we thought about 50,000. But I know Ajahn Brahmada would want to do as many as he possibly could. But let's leave those up for a while there and we'll wait for another 7 years and we'll let you know. Dear Ajahn Brahm, I'm wondering I know a lot of these raising costs, it's not just one person, it's just so many people. Put a bit in here, a bit in there. And I prefer that rather than just one major donor, because you have one major donor, does the whole lot. Sometimes it's like they own it. I know there is one person here, I think who did 2 of those. I won't say who they are. But, they get so much joy. There's a hut there which someone can go and stay in. That's beautiful. So hopefully you enjoyed what has been there so far. Ajahn Brahm, I'm wondering about the balance between contentment and striving in meditation. On the one hand, I understand you've been teaching me to let go of expectations and that being here is enough. However, it also seems that the purpose, aim, goal is to work towards nimittas and jhanas. Who said that? Like jhanas and nimittas, like the free gifts you get in the cornflakes box. You buy cornflakes, just to get the free gifts. Nimittas and jhanas are not what you attain. It's not what you expect. It's what happens when you practice properly. The goal is learning how to be peaceful and how to disappear. That's the goal. Nimittas and jhanas are just signs you're doing it correctly. So see if you can attain peace. That's a much better goal to achieve than things like jhanas or nimittas. Are you really peaceful? If you make peace your goal, you can achieve that. You can feel it. You can see it grow. It's something real to you. And it will not give rise to frustration, disappointment. If you make nimittas and jhanas the most important thing, you get frustrated so much. Make peace important. So I'm just sitting here being peaceful. Not doing anything, just watching the trees grow, closing my eyes, just being at peace. And see how much at peace you can be. You get so peaceful, deeply peaceful. Peaceful is one of the most delightful things to experience. It just grows and gets more and more peaceful. You don't say that, but that's otherwise you're not peaceful. If you want to say something, a Pali word, and the nuns will know this, if someone's had a really good meditation, they go, aho sukhang. Aho sukhang. It means like, what bliss? Aho sukhang. So at the end of the retreat, when people say, how was your retreat? Say, aho sukhang. Oh, sukhang. Because peace is really delightful. And there's the peace and the delight, they just grow, and the nimittas happen as part of the course, and jhanas happen because you just disappear. Anyway, being here is enough. However, it also seems, that's right, yeah. Is that not striving? How do we practice with contentment while also working towards deeper meditation without striving? If you're working towards deeper meditation, you're just not going to get anywhere. You don't work towards it. You prepare the ground so it will come. Comes all by itself. Oh, it's a good opportunity to say this little story, because I haven't said it yet. This is how donkeys catch carrots. Because you all know a long time ago that people do not have internal combustion engines, so they either use his horse, and poor country use donkeys to pull a cart. And in that cart is either people or goods, but the problem is that donkeys are incredibly stubborn. You can hit it with a stick, the donkey won't move. That's not what you use the stick for. You tie the stick to the donkey's neck. So the front of the stick is 2 foot in front of the donkey's head. On the end of the stick you tie a string. On the end of the string you tie a carrot. However, if this is pulling carts, say in Penang, you put a piece of durian in the front of the donkey. If this donkey is, say, in England, you put a little packet of fish and chips. You get the message. But anyway, donkeys and carrots. And you see the carrot in front of you. So you move towards the carrot because you like carrots. And when you move for the carrot also moves. So you move faster. The carrot also moves faster. The carrot's always in front of you, but you never get it. And in the meantime, the donkey pulls the cart. Now, can you relate to that in meditation or in life? You can see, like, maybe looking for a partner in life. You can see one right in front of you. You go towards it and they run away. The best job. You really get close sometimes. Just people appreciating who you are, what you do. You can find something that you go towards and it goes away from you. Or in meditation, how many of you have maybe got a little glimpse of a nimitta? It's a bit of light somewhere and you go towards and it's gone. That's like trying to chase a carrot. You never get it. And you get a lot of meditation, actually real nimittas. And enlightenment almost there, or jhanas, and you go towards it and it's always in front of you. You can never enter it. So anyway, the donkeys learned how to catch carrots, and the solution is really easy. The donkey runs as fast as he can after the carrot. Doesn't matter how fast you run, the carrot's always 2 foot in front of you. But then the donkey knows how to stop. You stop. When you stop, something strange happens. The carrot moves further away from you. If you really practice what I've been teaching you, just let go, relax, you fall asleep. So that enlightenment's even further away now. This is not Jhana, I'm just dull. I've got to do something. Don't. The donkey has got faith. I tell it to stop, and it stops. And the carrot goes further away than it's ever been before. You're really asleep. It's almost the end of the retreat. You've got nowhere, nothing. Even on some of these other retreats you do, at least you get some peace and stillness of striving, but you get nothing. The carrot's 4 foot in front of you. But then something strange happens. The carrot stops. And it starts moving towards you. You didn't do anything. You just stay perfectly still. And the carrot starts swinging towards you. And soon, it's a normal place again, 2 foot in front of your mouth. But this time, it's coming at top speed towards you. All by itself. Self-propelled. And it's coming closer and closer to you. And because you've been to really good Buddhist teachers, they also remind you the importance of kindness. So just as it comes really close to you know how big the teeth are in a donkey's mouth? Comes so close, and the donkey says at the right moment, "Carrot, the door of my mouth is open to you." Kindness. And that's how donkeys learn to catch carrots. That's how people learn how to become enlightened. Simple. What is the most people reborn again to be? I see a lot of insects, fishes, birds, but many animals disappear like tigers, lions. When people get enlightened, do they get reborn again? No, when you're enlightened, you're gone. You're out of here. Yay! Freedom at last. But anyway, people say, well, if there's rebirth, it's a very easy thing to work out. There's probably more people alive today than have ever died in the history of planet Earth. Because I think if a woman has, 1.8, or I forget what the number is, 1.8 children on average, the population increases so much more than the number of people who've died. It's a math thing. So where's everyone come from? They've kind of all been human beings before. So it's true, the number of human beings is huge. But it mentioned here, what type of people or what beings have got less and less and less and less? So gorillas, elephants, tigers. And that explains where bikies come from. When you have a kid and you call your little kid a little monkey, you don't know how accurate that could be. Where do they come from? They can't all come from human beings. Think about it. Where did you come from? Do you like sleeping a lot? What other animal likes sleeping a lot? Woof woof. Okay, I won't go there. Ajahn, what should I do? Nothing. Not happen at retreat center. When I sit down to meditation and my mind always keeps repeating what I said with someone earlier or what they have told me, I also look back that if they misundertook me and did I say something wrong, I think that I care about people a lot. Do you care about people a lot? You just care about other people. You don't care about you. So you don't care about people a lot. You're discriminatory. You're not misogynist. You're myselfist. That's unfair. So treat yourself like others. Okay, here comes one of my other little stories, which makes the point very powerfully. There were 7 monks meditating in a cave. And the 7 monks was the head monk. Yeah, it only works for me. I just think, can I change this to nuns? And it doesn't work. The head monk, his best friend, his brother was a monk, his enemy, because even though you're ordained, look at the nuns, sometimes you just don't get on together in the Dhammasara or in the monastery. There's sometimes, it's just nature. So the 4th monk was the enemy, the 5th monk was a very old monk, the 6th monk was a very ill monk, and the last monk was a useless monk. Every monastery has one. They can't keep their robes on properly, they can't chant in tune. They give a Dhamma talk and everyone leaves or complains. But they can't meditate without snoring. But we're kind enough, we just let them be there. So anyway, the 7 monks were meditating in this cave, and this group of bandits found that cave. It was in the jungle, really hidden, and they thought this is a great place for our hideout. Because, when we've stolen the goods or killed people or whatever, we could come in here, hide from the police, store all our stolen goods until the heat goes down. It's a brilliant location. There's only one problem. The monks found it first. So the leader of the bandits said, well, easy solution, we'll kill all the monks. And the head monk, it's really weird, head monk was a really good talker. And he said, look, the only reason why you want to kill us all is because you don't want us to tell the location of the cave to the police or anybody. We will never do that. We're honest monks, we promise. And the leader of the thieves was impressed, but he said, that's not good enough. And after some negotiations, they came for a compromise. They said, one of you will have to be sacrificed, killed in front of the others, as a warning that we're serious. And if anyone, we will let everyone else go after that, and if any one of you tells the police, we'll come for you, we'll do the same to you, but we need to impress upon you, this is serious, you will be killed, we'll find you, if you tell the location of the cave. And so the head of the thieves said, you're the head monk, you choose who's to die, so everyone else can go free. And then I ask the audience, if you were the head monk, if you were in charge, who would you choose? And I repeat, the list of monks again, there's 7 of them. There's the head monk himself, there was his brother, who would do anything for him. Even the friend, the best friend. If you have a best friend, they can sacrifice their life for you. Sometimes they push you out of the way of a vehicle coming to mow you down. But then there's also the enemy. The enemy always causes a lot of problems for everybody. And the next one was the old monk. The old monk was going to die any day. So old. Same with the sick monk. No one knew who was going to die first, the old monk or the sick monk. It'd just be hastening death for a couple of days, that's all. And the last one was the useless monk. And the useless monk had never ever done anything, any good karma for anybody. Maybe this was his chance. So, if you haven't heard the story before, if you have heard the story, please shut up. Spoil the fun. If you haven't heard the story before, who was chosen to die? If you were the head monk, who would you choose? And if you're wise, be quiet. Because it's always a tricky answer. People learn, actually, when I ask questions of people, be quiet, because you always get it wrong. I'm too sneaky. So the answer, most people, they put their hands up and say, he sacrificed himself. Would you do that? It's the wrong answer. I remember that one of the best times I told this story was a group in Sacramento in California, which included a bishop. A bishop came to listen to my talk, a real bishop. I told the story, and the bishop put his hand up, he sacrificed himself. That's obvious. That's what you do in Christianity. You're supposed to sacrifice yourself. I said, wrong answer. And he respected me enough. He wasn't mean and nasty and walked out or cursed me or something. He said, well, what is the right answer? Was it like the old monk or the stupid monk? I said, no. The right answer was the head monk loved his brother no more, no less, equally with his best friend, with the old monk, or the enemy as well, old monk, sick monk, and useless monk. May all beings be happy and well. Love everybody equally. Really equally. And most importantly, he loved himself no more, no less than everybody else. And when I told the bishop this, I said, don't you remember, there's somewhere in your text, the Bible, where it says to love your neighbour as yourself. It didn't say to love your neighbour more than yourself. It means to love yourself as your neighbour, no more, no less. And he said, can I use that in my next sermon? I said, yeah, sure. That was the answer. You love everybody equally, no more, no less, including yourself. That's very powerful. Do you love yourself exactly as others? Or do you sacrifice yourself for others? Anyway, next question, I'm going to be here all night, I think. Some teachers get laypersons who have experienced jhana to come up and talk about them. These teachers believe that by doing so, others will see that jhana is something ordinary. Oh boy. And ordinary persons can experience. Is this a skillful practice? No. The reason is because the real jhanas are very special. And you can't just come up and talk about them. They're high, really powerful experiences. And so even when some of you come and tell me those things, you just... Have you ever fallen in love? Really deeply in love with somebody? Can you come up and tell me what it feels like? I've been a monk. Sometimes you can't, because it's too powerful, it's too personal, too intimate. And that's actually what jhanas are like, but more so. They're powerful experiences. So even the Buddha said, don't talk about such things to people who haven't got jhanas, don't understand what they are. You shouldn't talk about samadhi to people who don't know what samadhi is. So I can tell you this, because I think you trust me, that some people can get jhanas. You can get jhanas. You can Not all of you will, but you can. And by learning how to make peace, letting go of renunciation, the most important thing. Dear Ajahn, if we are in the truest sense no self, who are we giving loving kindness to? Giving loving kindness to your body, loving kindness to your past, loving kindness to ATM machines if you're short of cash, loving kindness to the locks in the car boot doors so you can open it, loving kindness to your breath. So make it something which you can give loving kindness towards. Give loving kindness towards yourself. Who the heck is that? Loving kindness is wonderful, but who's going to tell the slackers to do their share of the apportioned work? While the cat's away, the mice will play. And human nature ain't all that great. Even doing jobs here on this wonderful retreat, they didn't do their tasks. Which means you have more opportunity to make the good karma. Something I was taught by Ajahn. You don't do rosters. If something needs to be done, you do it. And if you do all the work and other people are really what you think is lazy, it is more opportunity for you to do good karma. And that's how I was trained by Ajahn. That's what I do. If it's something I can do, I will do it. I'll do it first. I know that good old Nicholas is supposed to look after me with breakfast. In the morning, I can't help myself. Just, doing the washing up also. It's one of the only chances I have to do washing up as a senior monk. I tried that a few times in the kitchen at Jhana when there's not many people. And I managed to get as far as getting a tea towel. And then someone down there rips it off me. They do. Say, Ajahn Brahm, that's not your job. Yeah, I'm only trying to help. I remember just washing this monk's bowl once. And, I'd finished first. And he just finished after me. So I think someone else washed my bowl. And said, I didn't even ask him whether I could wash my bowl. I just grabbed it and ran. I just wanted to wash his bowl. I know he wouldn't let me, but I did it. So he didn't have a choice. So you don't look at other people's stuff, because other people, they don't do the work, either because they can't, or they're tired, or they're sick, they're ill, or whatever. And to me it says, that gives me more chance of doing the work. Thank you so much for letting me do it for you. It's a much better way of looking at life. And everything gets done, even just by a few people. It's my privilege to do it. So please tell me what jobs aren't being done, and then I'll give it to the nuns. Did you expect that? Yeah. Oh, I enjoy doing stuff. But don't think other people say, don't judge other people. It just gives you an opportunity to do more. Could you explain in more detail on how we can withdraw our good karma? How do we make sure our good karmas never become deficit negative? You've got so much good karma. Amazing amount. They say that just like giving a gift, like just a bit of rice, or like a bun, or a chip, if it's an English monk, to somebody, you get that back 1,000,000 times. I forget how many times it is, but just immeasurable amount of times back. A pure heart with a very sort of high-minded Sangha member you're giving it to, and you get that. So if you run out of good karma, just find some, have a look at what the nuns like to eat. You should have noticed that by now. And just find it special for them, and just give it to them. Now here you are, Vedamadiswa, this is for you. You just give it. And if you just give, like, say, a slice of bread, toasted with, what do you like, jam or peanut butter? Vena Krunika, what does she like? Cereal. Cereal? What type of cereal? Now, Krunika, you tell me. Because she won't admit it. Cornflakes. She likes cornflakes. So, tomorrow, you can get your own back. Do you want to get your own back? What does Venom Karunika like?
Many things.
What?
Many things.
And how will you feel tomorrow if you get like a bowl of cornflakes? That's really easy. And just, you give it to her. I know you like cornflakes and you've admitted it, so here we are to you. And when you do that to me, it just makes me feel, thank you so much for taking the time and the effort and caring. You get huge amounts of good karma back. So if you're short of good karma, just make some more. It's easy. But you can't be short of good karma. You made heaps and heaps and heaps. You made so much good karma, it's almost inexhaustible. And same when you made so much bad karma. Why are we worried about the bad karma rather than celebrating the good karma? And realize you have huge amounts of good karma. So when you start thinking about it and recognizing it and enjoying it, and just some people aren't doing enough work. Yes, it's my opportunity to get more karma money in my bank account with joy. And then you make so much more, and then that's where you focus on the good karma. And you get some amazing stuff happens. You can feel it, but recognize it. Feel the joy of doing something which is selfless and great and good for others. Feel that joy. And after a while, you get blissed out, making good karma. It surprises you. It surprises me because I was just so Western. When Ajahn Chah would come back from alms round, this is the cleaning of his feet. All the monks would jump up and just wash his feet. About 20 to each toe. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. Especially because I thought at the time that Ajahn Chah was old enough to wash his own feet. That's what you think of as like a Westerner. But then I saw the monks were so happy, big smiles on their face afterwards. So I decided, you're a scientist, okay? So I decided to do an experiment. I came back early from alms round, I really walked fast, cleaned my bowl and got it all ready, and waited. Like a cat waiting for the mouse. I waited and waited, just poised. When I saw Ajahn Chah come round the corner, I jumped up, ran to the bowl washing place. I got a whole toe for myself. And I was washing Ajahn Chah's toe. I said, what the hell am I doing? I was having so much fun, enjoying it immensely. And I realized this is what happens when you give. And just like washing a toe, it's not Ajahn Chah needed his toes washed. I needed to wash them. And I answered so much about life and things like that. Oh, a whole toe to myself. Yeah. You mentioned a sore bottom. That's when getting... sometimes for sitting long, but sometimes with that nurse. I had such a beautiful long sit, but now my bottom is so sore I can hardly sit. Any advice? Thank you. I can almost hear your jokes already. This is an interesting part, which I haven't said anything about this yet. If I sit for an hour and a half or something, I can have a sore bottom. If I sit for 4 or 5 hours, there's no soreness at all. And that was really weird. When you start getting into the really deep meditations, and the first time I did a really deep meditation, a few hours, and I thought, oh my goodness, that's coming out. This is going to hurt. I was even young, but still not moving for such a long time. Your knees are not going to be able to move, and your butt is going to be so sore. And it really just was amazing. There's no pain anywhere in your body. If you get into a deep meditation, whether it's nimittas, especially jhanas, or you can sit for a long time. There's no aches or pains anywhere in your body. Weird. It's not just that. You feel like you're so fit. You could give Usain Bolt a run for his money in the 100 meters, even at my age. That's how powerful you feel. I was always thinking about that because, if Australia, I saw that their Olympic team is not so good these days. So, they should get some of the nuns, the ones who can levitate, for the high jump. We just sit there, close our eyes, just get into samadhi, and just, doesn't matter how high you put it, they just rise up and rise up to the other side. And we get gold medal all the time. The only problem is, because of our rules, we're not allowed to receive gold. So we can't do it. That's the only reason why, isn't it? But it's true that sometimes the body is weird. If you get into samadhi, things here you don't have any pain at all. And that's really shocked me. I don't know how it works, but it does work. Ajahn Brahm, if somebody with samatha, vipassana and metta reach the top of the mountain, etc., if I take the strong feelings of metta in my heart and chest and somehow move it into the mind, is this way a shortcut to the jhanas? It will work, yeah. I'll get into jhanas just through metta, because the loving kindness and it creates a lot of mindfulness. It creates a lot of stillness as well, real loving kindness. May all beings be happy and well. It gets very calm. But to really take it deeper, it's not about in the body. Disembody it. In other words, it's not all beings. It's not me. It's just loving kindness without an object to fall on. Like a sun not realizing where it's shining on, or what it's warming, what it's lighting up. Not may all beings be happy and well, but may happiness and well-being be. So disembody it. And it becomes much more simple and much more powerful. It's not to you, it's not to everybody, it's not to ATMs, it's just this. And it becomes this incredible, powerful nimitta. Okay, I'll give you a few tips. It's usually the golden nimitta comes out. Beautiful golden nimitta with loving kindness. Oh, I was just watching that. Oh, great time. That's with loving kindness. It's powerful. How do I uninstall a fear filter? The last few months I found my mind was fearful. A robe and hulk I saw would trigger the imagination of hanging. Old sickly people I saw would trigger the imagination of ghosts and death. It is so sickly, but I don't know how to be courageous again. Oh, just see the positive side of these things. You found, a rope and a hole, and it would trigger the imagination of hanging. There's a nice story about hanging. I'm not sure if I can tell this, but I'm going to tell it. There was a story of this bhikkhuni in the time of the Buddha. What was her name again? Sorry? FIFA? Siha, okay. Siha. And 7 years she'd been a bhikkhuni, and she got nowhere in her meditation. You think only sort of 9 days. How many days? 7 days, 8 days? It's tough. 7 years she'd been meditating and got absolutely nowhere, no progress, nothing was happening. And so, this is in her story, she said, I'm not going to go back to the 3 crooked things. And that was like an idiom in those times. The 3 crooked things in monastic life for bhikkhunis, the first crooked thing was the ladle, which they used for cooking the curries. In other words, she'd had enough of housework, looking after husbands and kids and stuff. So she'd given up the first crooked thing, which was the ladle. And she'd given up the second crooked thing, which was the house broom, to keep the place clean. Cooking and cleaning she'd given up. You know what the third crooked thing was? The husband. That's what they call the 3 crooked things. So even in those days, they had a great sense of humour, or was it really true? Anyway, so she didn't want to go back to the 3 crooked things. So she getting no peace in meditating, so she couldn't disrobe, she couldn't stay as a nun. So what did she do? She got a rope, went into the forest, tied one end of the rope to a big branch of a tree, the other one to and I don't recommend this, okay? So, Leha, please hide all the ropes and stuff. And she was about to jump off and suicide, but just before she jumped off, her mind awakened and she saw the Dhamma. Didn't actually say exactly which was a stream winner or whatever, but probably at least a stream winner. That's when I see ropes, I always think of that. It's in a positive way. Why do you always associate ropes with suicide? They could actually lead to enlightenment. But how did that work? Because she stopped trying. She gave up. She let go. And it just, pushing it right to the edge is a pretty scary thing to do, but she became enlightened. So don't try that yet. Wait till Saturday. And give us a time to hide all the ropes, please. And old sickly people would trigger the imagination of ghosts and death. Ghosts are really cool as well. Okay, I've got to tell this story. Oh no, this is more appropriate to hear. That before Leha became our retreat manager, every retreat was managed by Bianca. Remember Bianca, those of you who've been here a while? And Bianca's partner used to be this guy called Ron Battersby. And he passed away a few years ago. But anyway, Ron and Bianca, they came from very poor families. And Ron was like a builder's labourer. And so Ron told me that he was working for this company of builders, and they were renovating a house in Mount Lawley, an old house. The previous owner had died. And because he was the builder's labourer, the lowest in the rankings there, that he had to clean up on a Friday afternoon while all of the more senior workers went to the pub. So he was like cleaning up the house by himself in Mount Lawley, a quiet street, when he heard an eerie sound. Put your hand under here. And he thought, am I imagining things? There's no one around. And so he thought, it's just imagination, maybe tiredness. So he carried on working, and he heard it again, much more clearly. Put your hand under here. Put your hand under here. And there's no one around. It was supernatural. This is not a joke, this is a true story. So what did he do? Good old Ron Battersby was a very courageous man. He put his hand where this voice told him to. You know the buildings, they're on stumps? He put his hand underneath the house. And he could feel, he couldn't see, he just felt there was a tin box underneath. And he pulled out the tin box. It was full of cash. Thousands of dollars. And he said that's what he used as a poor man, and Bianca was poor. And they used that for the deposit for their first house. How they got into the housing market. And they did a very little bit of research. That house belonged to, Mount Lawley, a reasonably wealthy guy, who did not like paying tax. Kept the money under the house and died. What would you do? You got all the money under the house, you're dead. You don't want to give it to the tax office. So the ghost saw this really nice young man, Ron Battersby, Bianca's partner, just wanted him to have it. Put your hand under here. So he did it, and I don't know, I should ask Bianca how much it was, but quite a few $1,000. To start, how hard it is to get your first house or apartment. And that's a true story. So, a ghost scary? If you hear that sound when you're walking past a house in an old part of Melbourne or Sydney or here, and you hear the sound, put your hand under here. For goodness sake, do it. If you've got that much money, you don't want to do that. But please remember, if you do find a few $1,000s in a tin box, please remember 10% goes to the Buddhist Society of Western Australia. It's called commission. It's 6 minutes past 9. Is it still okay if I carry on for a few more questions? Can you please dedicate Merita Metta to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander First Nation people, to their kinland, elders and ancestors, the Nyungar people, the traditional custodians of this beautiful country? Yeah, we can do that probably tomorrow, but sometimes I don't like to discriminate against anybody. I'd rather like to say all beings who share this land, who walk on its surface, who can care for it. I always like this bigger, may all beings be happy and well. We don't own things, we share things. I always think that's higher than singling out one person, or one group, or one type of group. Dear nuns, for you, I am so grateful for your presence here on retreat. It is lovely to share my meditation practice with you. I enjoy seeing you smile and laugh at Ajahns' jokes and stories. Do you enjoy seeing them groan? You inspire me to continue my meditation Buddhist practice. Thank you. Yeah, it's nice to see. And everybody. And one thing which is also nice, there was one lady, many of you may know her, that Angie from Singapore. She was really inspired with the Western forest monks and doing good teachings. But she always told me the one thing which she'd never felt comfortable with Theravada Buddhism, this was many years ago, that we didn't have bhikkhunis, that we weren't treating women fairly. She was she became actually Singaporean of the Year a couple of years ago. She was very, very active on social issues and also at Buddhism. So when we did actually ordain bhikkhunis, I said, that's it. The one thing which I didn't like about Theravada forest bhikkhus, you healed. Thank you so much. I always remember that. It wasn't like enjoy seeing the bhikkhunis, relieved that women were treated with respect. Just as many are also relieved that we treat gay, lesbians, transgenders, doesn't matter who you are, that we treat people with disabilities, come in a wheelchair, come in with one leg or whatever, with respect. That's Buddhism. It should be there for everybody. Anyway, Ajahn Brahm, on our walk this evening we had a discussion about the reasons behind gender segregation of monastics. We were wondering, as monastics have deeper jhanas, are their minds less susceptible to the thoughts of sensual desire? Also, shouldn't higher trained monastics be able to let go of sensual desire through their more enlightened understanding of the round? Why do men and women need to be segregated? One of the reasons is that we may be really good monks and nuns, but there are lay people who have malicious perceptions. So, we may be just living in the same monastery. There's many lay people, especially in places like Australia. Yeah, we know what you do once the gates are locked and everybody goes home. What do you get up to? Ajahn Brahm. We've seen you looking at the nuns. You see the nuns looking at you. And there's something which we have called the suspicions of the malicious. Because, we are celibate, we don't have any sexualities at all. Sometimes that people don't believe you. They think that it's impossible. That's one of the reasons why we have a little bit of segregation. And it's also one of the reasons why when I said I got that land for Dhammasara, I wanted it to be separate from Bodhinyana. The only reason was because I've seen too many times, with the best will in the world, if there's monks over here and nuns over there, the monks tend to dominate. Don't know why that is, but it seems to be the culture of the land gets imposed on just the way that things are governed. And of course, you've all been to Dhammasara, they look after themselves wonderfully well. I know you keep on asking me, can you please come over more often to give some teachings? Please, 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 please. And I say if I can, I will. But a lot of time you want to give some separation so you can look after your own affairs. I don't mind coming there to teach meditation or Dhamma. Please don't ask me about how to run Dhammasara. That's your job. You're doing it reasonably well, carry on. That's how you have to train people. You make mistakes, but they're your mistakes. Not mine. That was a nice thing to say. I know it didn't sound good, but I didn't mean it that way. It's one of the reasons why they wear dark brown robes and we wear lighter brown robes. It's the only reason you can tell who's a nun, who's not a nun. Sometimes it helps. Otherwise, sometimes people give me a big hug. Oh, I thought you were a nun, sorry. So at least you know who's who. Okay, 2 more questions, then we finish off. How to distinguish awareness and thinking? During meditation, I hear myself saying, oh, thinking, come back to the breath. Is that awareness or thinking? That's thinking. Inner voice says, breathing in, breathing out. Is that will, thinking, or awareness? That's thinking. It's nearly all thinking, isn't it? But if you want to know what awareness is, the stillness. This is a little exercise you've heard me say before. And it's a powerful one. Those of you who do teaching to your clients, maybe psychologists, nurses or whatever, you just tell them to just listen to what I'm saying. Because as I'm saying, you'll begin to notice I'm speaking quite differently than normal. Because as I'm speaking, you'll begin to perceive there's a few spaces between my words. In those gaps between my words, what was happening inside your mind? You were still. You weren't thinking because you didn't know when I was going to start speaking again. You were not thinking. You're quiet now because it works. Oh my goodness, I can be silent. Now you notice what silence is. It's much more profound and happy than all this thinking. I can tell that because you're silent, aren't you? You love it. Last question. What's slip streaming? I don't know. That's the end of the questions today. You stumped me with the last one. Slip streaming, I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So I wish you a happy evening. And those of you who are tired, have a nice rest. Those of you who got energy, you can slipstream or whatever that means. And thank you for laughing at the jokes. It's wonderful. And tomorrow's the last. Are we going to have a photo shot tomorrow? What time? 2:45. Okay, 2:45 before the evening, afternoon interviews. Okay, where is it going to be? At the stupa area. So 2:45. Don't forget to brush your hair, polish your hair for your monks and nuns. And that's a quick. If you really don't want to do it, that's fine also. But it's nice if you come and join in. Beautiful friends practicing Dhamma together. It's a wonderful thing to do. Okay, good night. I've got another question from the nuns here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This will work. 7:45 for the Awada on Saturday. You okay with that?
Should we do it at the teacher's cottage or where?
Yeah, okay. 7:45, Teachers' College. Yeah, that's not tomorrow, on Saturday. Yeah, good. Oh, I'm in trouble now. Yeah, come on. I'm only going to just sign my name, so no dedication. Okay, you can write that later on. Otherwise, I'm here for a long time. So this is one of the most wonderful books. Look at this. I look at this one, it just really blows my mind. The stupa at night time. I'm sorry I can't do the names, but it'll take me forever. My record was within Medan once. I had 1 hour and I wanted 1,000 books done. I just managed it, but my hand could move afterwards. And thanks for understanding. Allow me to just put the signature. Very good. Okay. Where's your pen? Got a pen? Very good. That's good. A good retreat so far? Very good. Where are you from? Indonesia? Ah, you're Yaman Quest.